What inspired you to create the show Complicated?
Okay, so Complicated, it's actually an extension to one of my songs, F-Boy Tendencies. And F-Boy Tendencies is actually, that was inspired by my favorite movie, Queen. I love everything about Queen. I feel like the relationship was very complicated. So I figured I would name my show Complicated. But a lot of people ask me, they were like, when you made the song F-Boy Tendencies, like, was that something you were actually going through? No, like, that was, honestly, like, that song was really just, it was inspired by Queen and Slim, and I felt like they had such a complicated relationship because they weren't even supposed to be in love, but they kind of like, they fell in love running away from authority. So I would say, yeah, Queen and Slim.
So, could you tell us a little bit about the storyline and the characters?
Yes, so unfortunately I could not have my characters with me today. But I'll introduce Queen first. Queen, yeah. I will be playing the character of Queen. She's dealing with some dating, complications right now. Queen's trying to date, and she's having, somewhat of a rough time. And then we have the therapist. The therapist is someone who Queen is pretty close with. And it's not like a therapy, it's not like a therapy relationship where, like Queen is dealing with such traumatic life events. It's more so like, just, I guess I would just say like a therapist, like, kind of almost like a mentor type of relationship. Like her and her therapist are pretty close. And then we have Madison. Madison's getting ready to leave soon. Madison happens to be Queen's bestie, but she'll be leaving soon. Then we have Chris. He is one of the dates who plays in the series Complicated. And Chris, I hate to use the word weird because I don't want to say Chris is weird, but Chris, he comes off somewhat. He does come off kind of weird because he for a first date he's a little too just overly ambitious. So Queen is kind of like, this is giving weird energy, but Chris, I feel like Chris does have good intentions.
Okay. How do you think your personal experiences or observations have influenced the development of this show? I know you stated prior that you weren't currently going through any type of F-Boy problems, dramas, but you were heavily inspired by Queen and Slim. So if you could just delve in a little bit deeper into what aspects kind of made you gravitate towards that type of storyline.
I mean, like I say, is definitely Queen and Slim. I feel like their relationship was pretty complicated. Like people ask me like, were you going through that? And like this one guy I was talking to, he's like, are you dealing with, like, is that how you feel about me? Honestly, the video, yeah, the complicated relationship inspired too, but the video, I feel like it's more inspired by Queen and Slim because honestly, when I made that song is probably one of my most contradicting songs. Because I start off like, you say you want to take me out. Then I'm like, you got a good girl. Then I'm like, but I want to be with you. I love you. Please don't go. I don't like you. So it's like, honestly, that it's almost that question might be too deep for me, to be honest. Because honestly, I feel like when I was making that song, I was really just being creative. Because my brother, even when he was recording that, he was like, this is such a contradicting song. He was like, so are you going to go out with him or not? You're telling him not to leave. Then now you're saying go back to your girl. Like, and honestly, that song, it was not like, I was not dealing with, I've never dealt with it. So I'm being so honest.
That was creative.
So I guess when you asked that question, I'm like, I was kind of freestyling, but I'm like, that's a great question. But honestly, I have never dealt with a situation like that. Like, but the complications was inspired somewhat by Queen and Slim, but more so of the visual.
Okay.
So you get me?
The visual aspect that you was
that's what. But that complication, because they did kind of have that, like, she didn't like him, he was kind of okay on her, and then it was like, oh, well, she killed a cop. We're on the run. Now and they just kind of ended up together, and I was like, that's beautiful. So it's a little bit. The lyrics is a little bit inspired, but it's more so visually, if that makes sense.
What do you hope that the audience will take away from watching your show?
What do I hope that the audience will take away? That's a great question. Honestly, I mean, I feel like it's endless. I hope they can I hope they can relate to Queen, me playing Queen. I hope that we can, maybe tear down some of that, that stigma that, therapy is just so bad. Because honestly, like the way I have to set up, I want therapy to kind of be something. I'm not trying to say like, oh, like, let's normalize therapy, but like take off that stigma of like people who go to therapy, they're only in therapy because they're dealing with really life-changing traumatic events. It's like in my episodes, Queen goes to therapy, but she's not necessarily going to therapy because her life is in shambles. She goes to therapy, just everyday stuff, things of that nature. Like I said, like almost like a mentor type of relationship. Just like she can go to therapy, talking about like how her boss is, taking her off. Or, maybe, her and her mom are like, they're not seeing eye to eye, but like, she still loves her mom. It's not like, oh, Queen, you need to, let's intervention. Like, therapy doesn't have to be that. And that's kind of what I want to. It's huge. There's so many reasons why people go to therapy. So I kind of do want people to see, like, it's okay if you go to therapy. Like, you don't have to hide it. I'm not thinking you're crazy or you need intervention.
How do you navigate the balance between portraying authenticity and creating a compelling drama in your show?
The best thing I could say, honestly, just through creativity. Like the whole F-boy tendencies and all different things of that nature. Yes, I have dealt with guys I felt like may have had F-boy tendencies. No, I'm not saying you're an F-boy. But maybe I dealt with a guy too, back F-boy tendencies. But as far as the song that I actually put out and then the series that I have attached to it, I have never went through a situation like that. This is all from just creativity, honestly, just having a big mind, I guess you can call it.
What sparked your interest in becoming a creative writer, and how did you find your way into wanting to create your own show?
Honestly, I've been doing this stuff since I was, a young girl. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say that like I was growing up saying like I want my career path to so much like be a writer or an entertainer or singer or whatever the case may be. But I always like done this type. I've always been interested in this. I've always been interested in creativity. I've always been interested in acting. Hopping in and out of character. Like okay, I see how she's acting. She's funny. I want to let me act like that.
What sparked your interest in becoming a creative writer, and how did you find your way into developing your own show?
When I was in high school, I majored in performance theater, and yeah, that's just naturally. I just had a gravitation towards like the arts, performance theater, writing. I even make videos. I'm not saying I'm good as the camera guy behind me, but I've always just it's natural, honestly.
What advice would you give to aspiring creatives who are looking to develop their own projects?
I would definitely say. I understand you want to compare yourself to other people, but just be authentic, be you. And I know it's gonna sound so cliche, but keep putting stuff out. Like just please keep putting stuff out, and you have it's consistency. Honestly, because when I first started YouTube, honestly my views were not there. I honestly felt like when I first started YouTube, I felt like I was kind of lame, to be honest. And then once I started, getting some kind of attention on YouTube, I was still lame because they were trolling me and saying, "You suck. Your song sucks. You have a funny voice." Da da da. But nevertheless, I felt like persistency and consistency is what, and laying low on comparing myself, being myself, and just okay, like somebody will like it. If you don't like it, that's fine. But you see me. So yeah.